to Wealth Strategies Unleashed. My name is Robert Gilliland with Concenture Wealth, and with me I have
Karen Hyder, Senior Wealth Advisor.
And Mike Alexander. I'm the Chief Investment Officer.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Today, what I thought we would do is as we're sitting here and thinking about developing on these podcasts to try to provide information to people, one of the things that we want to go through to talk about or give people strategies on how to create wealth, how to grow wealth, right? Because it's one thing, it doesn't really matter what stage you're at. So what would you say where does it all begin in going through?
Yeah, I'd say there's a handful of ways that you can create wealth. One certainly is to inherit it, but clearly not everyone is in a situation where they actually inherit wealth. And so when you think about it, there's really only two ways you can get there. You can save, and you can invest. And I think for people that are really successful at it, they probably combine those two. And it is, it's about savings and investment. And certainly as, for those of you that are involved in the markets on a regular basis, there are times when the market gives you the return that you need. And there are other times when it doesn't, and you have to save your way to success. And so I think combining both of those is really the best way to get there.
Yep, I think on the savings side, I think it all kind of starts with you have to build a plan. You have to almost plan with the end in mind, know what you're trying to do. Do you have an idea of when you want to retire? Are you planning to work forever? Do you have certain things you're trying to accomplish along the way, like buy a house or travel or do certain things? If you have a plan for each of those, then you can develop a way to get there and save along the way to meet those goals.
I think that to just kind of build on that just a little bit is that anytime that we're talking with a child of a client or a client who's maybe 45 years old and they're trying to figure out, first step is, like what you said, where do we want to get to? What is that life going to look like? What do we have to be, right? And then it's just a math equation back. And the question that we get often is, how much do I need to save in order to be able to do X? Mm-hmm. Right? My response is, as much as you possibly can and still live.
Well, my favorite phrase here is that you tell clients all the time is treat yourself like a paycheck. Pay yourself first before you do anything else. Get that savings in there and then take care of the other things.
Yeah, and as it applies to investment, a lot of times if you here at Concenture we invest for the long term, and if you want to be an investor for the long term, it means that you're probably going to have some money set aside for emergency purposes that you don't necessarily have to tap should something come up, because sometimes investments take a little while to play out, and we think long term, and certainly our clients do as well.
Yeah, what is so interesting, having helped clients in the tech bubble popping, helped clients in the credit bubble popping, the Great Recession, and now helping clients in the stimulus bubble, which, by the way, we should probably trademark that phrase, the stimulus bubble popping, helping them. The ones that are able to maintain and grow their wealth are the ones that don't have to sell investments to live because they have that emergency fund. They stay disciplined and treat themselves like a bill. No matter what, they're putting money into the 401k. No matter what, they're making IRA contributions. No matter what, they're putting money away for college. No matter what, they're putting something. Now, depending on what happens, those things may need to adjust or change a little bit, but that's how they're able to go and grow that. If you're planning for sending kids, and Lord knows I've got a bunch of kids, sending all my kids. By the way, I have 5 kids, 3 of which are currently in college. Life becomes much easier if you have that money set aside, so you've planned for it. That means I don't have to sacrifice other things.
Well, so I was going to jump in. This isn't always necessarily the most feasible, but in times where you're able to scale back and adjust your lifestyle if need be, that can make a difference. And then at all times, living below your means can help you build your wealth as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, the most difficult thing I think for a lot of people to do sometimes is to control spending and to have an understanding of how much do I really need, and versus what is it that I want. And I think balancing the two between needs and wants, I think is really the start of a successful finish, if you will, when you finally do get to retirement.
what would y'all say? Because I have an opinion on this. That of course I do. That's the reason why I asked the question, because I know the answer. What do y'all say is the single biggest factor to someone? Well, look, first of all, wealth is relative, right? Someone may have $25 million and not feel wealthy. Someone may have $850,000 and feel wealthy. So it's relative. It's all based on your standard of living and the lifestyle and the way that you want to live. But what do you think the single vehicle to help people get to that stage so that they can feel comfortable? You've got retirement accounts, right? That's the easiest place to start to build wealth, retirement accounts, making sure that you're maxing those out. You've got savings accounts.
Okay, I got you.
You've got taxable accounts that you can dollar cost average in. So as you're sitting there and you're looking at, okay, I have this amount of money coming in. This is what I do. Maybe a different way to ask this question is, what do you think are the major factors that keep people from getting to?
Yeah, so I mean, what keeps people from being successful in many cases is first of all, not being able to manage debt properly. There's an old saying that goes, you can't borrow your way out of debt, and a lot of times people tend to forget that. It's it's very easy to in this environment to earn 4% in your money market account, but it's also very easy to pay 27% interest on your credit card as well. And so people sometimes forget that, and the way that can compound over the years. The second way is to always take advantage of what I call the free money, and that is the matching on your 401k or your retirement plan from work. If your company is going to match the first 6%, you definitely want to make sure not only that you're maxing out your plan, but you certainly want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that free 6%, because it's an automatic return that you can't be guaranteed in terms of market performance. And so I think those are excellent places to start.
Assuming that there's always going to be time later to invest and to save. People forget the power of compounded growth, especially in retirement accounts. I think it's real easy to think, oh, I'll just take care of these couple of things, or I'll travel in my early years and do this, and this, and not set aside savings and not invest when they should. The earlier you start, get that compounded growth, the better chance you have to retire the way you want to. So I think just assuming that there's time later to do it is such a fallacy and can hurt people.
I think that's exactly right. On top of that, it's kind of like when it's raining where you are, and we get this a lot in Texas, right? When it's raining where you are, you think that it's raining everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the reality is 2.5 miles away, it's not raining. And it's sunny. And the point on that is that when the markets are going down, it feels like they're always going to go down. And that's where you get to this point of throw your hands up. I want nothing else to do with this. Get me out. Then the same is true when you're in times that are really, really, really good, then you assume the market's always going to go up 20%. So going back to what you said about a plan, it is having that plan that can stress test both of those to show what your probabilities of success are, make a big difference. I also think that if you're not keeping score as you go along, that can be a determining factor, because reality is everyone wants more, but what does more do for you, right? If it doesn't change your lifestyle and it does not really going to do anything, and it's not going to help you achieve a goal or create some legacy that's important to you, well, then it might make sense to take a heck of a lot less risk.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that keeping score and understanding that probability around that plan is important. One thing that I'm sure we'll end up having another podcast, but you go and you talk about treating yourself like a bill and taking and treating yourself like a bill and taking advantage of that free money. Some of the tools are 401k, Roth 401k. What's your take on how someone should look at whether or not putting money into a Roth 401k or the traditional?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Number one, I think it depends on what their tax situation is. I mean, obviously, if you're in a very high tax bracket and you're thinking about this idea of perhaps converting an existing IRA into a Roth, that may play into your decision. Certainly, here at Concenture, we have the ability to run the numbers for you, if you will, and find out what the most economical way of doing that. It could be a partial conversion. But I think people need to make sure that they understand that. And by the way, also just understanding the differences between the two. I mean, and clearly in one, the money's growing tax deferred and comes out tax free, whereas in the other one, it grows tax deferred and comes out as taxable proceeds. And so I think just understanding the differences and thinking about that as it relates to when do I want to retire, and by the way, one of the reasons for thinking about these types of things is for a lot of folks these days, they don't always know when they're going to retire. Like things are going really swimmingly well, and then they find themselves as part of a downsizing, or something happens with their health, or whatever the case is. So I think being able to prepare for either one of those options certainly makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to say that wealth goes beyond money. It's fantastic to have a very, very large nest egg that's set aside for you and your family. But to truly be wealthy, you need that, plus the ability to be able to spend that with the people around you that you love and you care about, and that's what true wealth really is. We can't handle all of those components, but there's an element of it that we can really help with, and if we can take that off your plate, then I think it allows you to spend that time cultivating the other aspect of that, and that to me is what true wealth is.
I agree with most of that. I think so.
Well, hold on, not all of it?
Well, no,
I
okay.
thought that was good.
Okay, let me tie it a different way. I agree with that, but I'm going to take it a different direction. So, wealth, I agree, is very much individualized to each person. But what I think is different, and maybe this speaks to the younger generation, I think when you're thinking about building wealth, you have to put a level of reality to it. And what I mean by that is, I think it's real easy for the younger generation to get caught up in, well, to be wealthy, you have to have $30 million. And how in the world am I going to get to that stage? I think for those in the earlier stages of their career, a level of reality, a reality check or a dose of reality to you, thinking about what is wealth to you, what do you need to do, or what do you need to have in order to do the things that make you happy and would allow you to live the life you want to live? What does that lifestyle cost? And then build into that number. You may not need 30 million to be wealthy and do what you want to do. Maybe that's, like you said earlier, 850,000, maybe that's 200,000. I think it's important to understand what is wealth to you, what do you like doing, what does it cost to do those things, and what would make you feel like you are enjoying your life to the fullest. That's your level of wealth. Figure out what that amount is and then build a way to get there. I think that brings it back into a more realistic version to those people in the younger stages of their career, or even later on in life. I think kind of ignoring the noise out there and figuring out in a personal level what is wealth to you, I think is a way for you to manage what you've got and get you to that level of wealth.
Yeah, both of y'all are right, and I think that's exactly the key, right? Because there are people who have boatloads and boatloads and boatloads and boatloads of money that aren't happy and aren't emotionally wealthy. And there are people who you scratch your head and you say, how in the world are they getting by? And they are the happiest people that you know. And so money's not going to bring that happiness, right? And so whatever it is that's important to you to be wealthy, what are your goals and what's most important to you, then what our role is to devise that plan to get you there, right? And I think that's really what wealth is, and how you go and grow that. And kind of with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone listening to Wealth Strategies Unleashed. This is Robert Gilliland with Concenture Wealth Management. We really appreciate you listening. We'll be back next Monday, so make sure you check out the podcast. We look forward to seeing you. And in the meantime, do us a favor, share it with your friends. We really love all the feedback. We'll talk to you all next week.
See you next week.
See you Monday.
All right, so let's take care of some legal stuff. As a representative of Sanctuary Securities, Inc., and an investment advisory representative of Sanctuary Security Advisors, LLC Securities, offered through Sanctuary Securities, member FINRA and SPIC, advisory services offered through Sanctuary Advisors, LLC, an investment registered investment advisor. Concenture Wealth Management is a DBA of Sanctuary Securities and Sanctuary Advisors, LLC.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as an offer or solicitation with respect to the purchase or sale of any security. The content is developed from sources believed to be accurate. No warranty, express or implied, is made regarding the accuracy, adequacy, completeness, legality, reliability, or usefulness of any information.
Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or to predict future performance. The views expressed herein are not necessarily representative of Sanctuary Securities, Inc. or Sanctuary Advisors, LLC, and should not be interpreted as investment advice.
Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit against loss in periods of declining values. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Any investment discussed may not be suitable for all investors. Investors must take their own decisions based on their specific investment objectives and financial circumstances. Consult your financial professional before making any investment decision.
No part of this communication is intended to be construed as tax or legal advice. Please discuss your specific situation with a qualified tax or legal professional.